Welcome to COVID Stories, a digital memoir from the pandemic. People from across the region and the world will share their stories here, from the hilarious to the heartbreaking ways we're coping in isolation. COVID Stories, where first-person arts keeps you company. In today's installment, entitled For You, we're hearing from people inspired to action by the pandemic, from writing a love letter to a loved one, to videoing the vacant streets of New York, to making new music that will leave you with a happy feeling.
Wow. So here I am sitting next to my house in Brooklyn. Yes, I'm Brooklynite, but I'm first of all Bulgarian. Brooklyn Hospital is just down the street from my house. It's 10 minutes walking, seriously. So I know people who live right across from it. My family knows several people who are not among the living anymore. And other friends have, colleagues who are now dead, and those are not elderly people. One of the places that has been a safe haven for me for many years in Brooklyn, but especially now during COVID, has been this tiny community garden that has been not only a place of relaxation, a place of growing yummy food and sharing beautiful community, learning things about how to be self-sufficient in a giant metropolis. But it's also been a place of inspiration for many songs. And one of the songs that came to me right here started from a few words about this very garden, and it turned out to be a song about the big garden of our world, which we all share. And nowadays, more and more, we are shown how close we are all together, how much we actually do share this land. And yeah, I hope the new day brings us some new understanding. I hope the new day brings us some new understanding, some new sensitivity about it all. In this abundant garden, I pray for the new day. In this abundant garden, I pray for strength. Stay well. I can't wait to see you, everybody. We're in this together.
So this goes out to all my people out there living alone right now. And I'm just going to be looking over here reading. So this specific one goes out to my sister. Dear sister, I have been dying to tell you that you are so strong, but it's okay to lay down your strength, to put it to rest, to feel lonely, to revel in your solitude, to take the time you need and then request what you need of others. I have been dying to tell you that you are so loved, that you don't need to do or say anything to earn that love, that you are loved on your best day and your worst. You are loved when you want to talk about hopes and dreams, and you are loved when you need to express your sorrows and anger. I've been dying to tell you about all the things we'll do when we can hang out again. We'll take so many walks, and you'll get annoyed because I'm too close, because I'm walking in your sidewalk square. We'll make risotto and drink wine and sit on your couch and cry tears of laughter over nothing at all. Maybe we'll do other things, but mostly we'll eat and walk and laugh, and it will be perfect. I've been dying to tell you that you are so strong and you are so loved.
My 71-year-old mother had a lung transplant back in September of 2019. And we were prepared for the hardest year of our lives. And that was how long it was going to take, right? It was going to take 1 year for her to get through the initial recovery. And we were told it was going to be a roller coaster ride of great highs and great lows and great setbacks. And so I'm the youngest child, the baby girl of a Black family. And as the only living relative on the East Coast, I was the caregiver, the youngest child, the baby girl. So my mother had a challenge accepting me as a person of knowledge and a person of some authority in this kind of recovery process, although I'm almost 50. Couldn't do it. So we fought and we fought and we fought. And we finally figured it out. We finally figured out how to have a great communications, and we finally figured out how to work together towards her recovery. But that's not particularly why I'm sharing my COVID story. During the past month, my mother's breathing has been just getting progressively worse. We thought at first it was just allergies, and it may have been, but in the past 5 days or so, I've had to increase her oxygen time and time again to make sure that she was not laboring and that she was not having problems. And we were freaking out. We were worried what's going on. You know, every night between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. she had an exacerbation, and that blew up her anxiety. And then there I am at 2 a.m., at 6 a.m., keeping her calm and reminding her that this won't kill her and that this is not going to be the end of her. And I should tell you, this is the kind of thing that we would have gone to the hospital over to get her some high dose of steroids or something, but COVID-19. So I help her through the night and maybe 2 more exacerbations throughout the day. And my ears are always on alert for some sound of struggle. And I hear them now in my sleep, right? I dream of struggle for my mom. And then I get up and I try to focus on work. You know, I'm fortunate enough to be able to work still from home during this horrible time, and you know, COVID-19, and the demands haven't really lessened. They've in fact increased. So my mother's 2 little prides of canine joy require assistance and help. That's me. My mother's housekeeper can no longer come because of COVID-19, and so now that's me. The recovery community that we developed to help her after the surgery is quarantined because of COVID-19, so that's all me. And today, when my back is aching from the stress and sitting at a desk that was not meant to be sat at for more than 2 hours, and when I think about the fact that my head is aching because I got maybe 4 hours of sleep last night and my patience is thinner than onion skin, I think of COVID-19. I think of how doctors and nurses are caring for hundreds and thousands of patients, many of whom will die, and the emotional toll that has to take. And I think of the friends and family who have lost loved ones and couldn't say goodbye, couldn't be there between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. and tell them they're not going to die, they're going to be all right, I'm here for you. I think of those nurses who continue to be there emotionally for their patients and they're not properly guarded against this COVID-19. And then I think of what I have, and I'm grateful. I have to be.
I can hear everything. I can hear everything now that is outside from inside my house. I hear doors shutting, the trash truck sounds like a monster's roar, and a neighbor's cough is quiet and secretly soft. It is the time of the coronavirus. On the streets, boys skateboard down the middle of State Street towards Magnolia and Cypress. I venture out and walk by the senior home, where surely residents mill from room to room on walkers or staring at the television or wall. The sun is out. Kata walks to Pinkerton with Juno. The young trees grow blindly through the ruin. A sapling, a stunted oak. Vines wrap the children's feet as they push through the wooden door. It is always on our minds, the virus, wrapping around us with tiny hands. Don't come closer, don't touch. Hello, friend. Stay far from us, please. Only nature asks for closeness, shoving up against my children, spring cold rain on Monday, bright sun at Pinkerton today, patchy grass and mud, and pansies in the garden too soon, frosty from night. Here we are, our little town, and then our grand Folesfield, of walks to Haybale City, by Chalfont seeded fields, and around the bend we go. Hardest still is school, bits of reading and math and science. Adding up this, we subtract that. Then there is me, passing days in inside and outside, poking at the new treehouse, its nails still sharp from the slanted ceiling, its boards now cedar where Solomon laid them there. I miss Georgie. How would she have been during this time? On the phone in cheerful daytimes, with a "this is hell" at night, and "can't you visit?" Blonde hair springing like a daffodil. She would have sent Walter to the market, or me to buy cheese, good ice cream, and tulips. Does it sound romantic? This time? Surely not. Families with nowhere to go are fighting. Parks are closed, playgrounds shut with tape. Still, we use up the day, our feet set together like soldiers in stride, whistling at patience, whistling at time. By Christianna Potter Hannum, March 24th, 2020.
Imagine this. Imagine the most famous line in the Passover story never actually appears in the Haggadah. In the words of Moses, who recounts the words of the Holy One, "Let my people go." Who among us can't hear the African-American spiritual "Go down Moses" echoing in our backgrounds? And while it's not officially part of the Seder experience, it is certainly part of our collective imagination about what Passover is about. I've been thinking about this all week. In fact, actually, these words played on repeat in my mind in the past week as I went to my first ever car protest. It was an organized effort to demand that Mayor Kenney and Governor Wolf pressure the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to release all folks incarcerated in detention centers, jails, and prisons, folks who are held there because they couldn't afford cash bail, folks who are 6 months from release and eligible for early parole, folks who are infirm, old, elderly, who otherwise are medically vulnerable and for whom being incarcerated is essentially much like a death sentence in this moment. To declare, and the line was, release our people, free our people, and all I could hear was, let my people go. Let my people go. Now I've occupied street corners, I've marched in solidarity with the movement for Black Lives, I've protested and done direct action to stop the Dakota Access Pipeline. I have done sit-ins, I've chained myself in front of buildings, I've marched on Washington, but never before have I participated in a car protest. But here we are living in unprecedented times, and they call for unprecedented tactics. So let me paint the picture. It's week 3 of stay-at-home orders here in the city of Philadelphia. And while this protects some of us, what we are coming to understand is that it does not protect those who are most vulnerable, which is what in Jewish tradition we are called to protect. In biblical language, this is the orphan, the widow, the stranger, the minor. And in our times, it's folks who are homeless, folks who are incarcerated, folks who are undocumented, folks who are ineligible for the benefits and protections of the federal government. And so we've been called to take action. But here's the thing, we can't leave our homes, right? So in an act of brilliant organizing, folks came together and organized a car protest. Now, this was actually quite a relief to have somewhere to go and a purpose to do. So let me paint a little picture of what this virtual resistance looks like. It was Monday when it's Monday afternoon and I'm getting in my car, but I actually had a funeral to attend, so I'm wearing a full suit, and I sort of had the inner commitment that I was not going to get arrested or detained because I had to make it to this funeral. So I got in one car, and my partner and her sister and my 3-year-old got in another for what he understood to be a car parade. And as we were explaining to him why we were doing this, he said with just complete clarity and understanding and empathy, he said, they want to be home with their families. Who doesn't in this moment, sitting around, getting ready to celebrate what it is to leave a narrow place? We want to be with our families. And my 3-year-old understood that intuitively. So we each got in our car and we actually went to separate meetup locations, and we each met up with about another 20 cars in our designated places. And in that spot, we taped signs to our cars that said, free them all, release them all, let my people go, free our people. And we were sure to sanitize our hands in between using the Sharpie and the tape. And then we drove in a car parade, actually a lot like a funeral procession, to designations. And we had the designated target of City Hall. So we arrived at City Hall and we claimed the innermost lane that surrounds City Hall Plaza. And we drove really slowly and honked our horns and got the attention of what at that point was limited foot traffic, but what grew into a larger media presence. And for about 30 minutes, we just circled City Hall, and people were asking questions and staring and sort of began to participate from the sidelines on the sidewalks. And then we dropped a banner and blocked traffic and actually created a traffic blockade, which was somewhat over 100 cars at that point, stopping traffic at noon in City Hall. And this defined for me actually the power of protest. It was one of the most creatively organized actions I've ever been to. And most of what I know about protest is really about the felt sense, the body experience, the experience of being with bodies, marching, moving, shouting, singing, silence, sitting together, drumming. And that magic, you might think, oh, we couldn't have that from the privacy of our own cars, from the quarantine of our own cars. But actually we did. We felt really that feeling of we are part of something larger than ourselves. And actually what we are doing is the power of protest to make visible that which is otherwise invisible, to give voice to that which feels voiceless, and to actually live into another way of being in this world. One of the ways that we kind of use protest to embody freedom is to actually use it to embody the world we want to live in, to kind of be the kind of people we want to live in, to pursue justice in a way that actually reminds us in a felt sense that it's possible. It's one of the reasons that we celebrate Shabbat, is to sort of feel in our bodies a taste of the world to come. And it's one of the reasons we celebrate Passover. The Seder itself, we recline and we ask questions and we luxuriate around a table to know ourselves as free people on a physical, metaphysical level. And this protest actually did that. For a moment, it felt like we are going to free our people. We are going to pressure the mayor and the governor and the Supreme Court of this state to do what is right, to understand that a lack of action is actually a crime in itself, that there will be blood on their hands. And I really want to just kind of take with us the words of the writer-activist Arundhati Roy. She says, another world is not only possible, but she is on her way, and on a quiet day, we can hear her breathing. For me, protest is a way of actually coming to hear and breathe with the world that is not yet here, but that is possible. To kind of live into that in an organized, collective way, to feel the power of possibility. So as we prepare for Passover this year, and as we live into the teachings of the Freedom Seder, I invite you to figure out, what are the new questions of our time? What does freedom feel like when we are sheltering in place? What does it mean to be free in quarantine? Who doesn't have the freedom to quarantine? And while much of our reality has shifted, while it can still feel like Purim every day, what remains consistently true is the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects us all indirectly. COVID-19 has made the depth of our interconnection more apparent than ever. It is undeniable that we are connected as we do everything we can to physically disconnect, to quarantine, to shelter in place, to protect those who are most vulnerable. And this has made our need to protest injustice in our city, in cyberspace, in our state, in our country, more urgent. So now is the time for creative action, for pursuing freedom and justice in ways we never would have dreamed of. In the words of Grace Paley, the only recognizable sign of hope is action. Next year in freedom. L'chaim. Chag Sameach.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wittenberg, and I'm a composer, audio engineer, record producer, and filmmaker. I have a studio called Melody Vision, which is located in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania, and I spend most of my time sitting in the studio working on various projects, either mixing our film or doing sound design, mixing a record, recording. Many people come over to my studio to work with me on projects. So in some ways, being shut in was not that different. But one of the big differences is that people couldn't come over anymore because we're closed to the public. And so with that, I was looking for something that was, looking for some kind of inspiration, something where I could get my creative juices going. And I was looking online one day, and I saw that a friend of mine who was a drummer in my old band when I was much younger had posted drum tracks, just drum tracks of him playing, a video of him playing the drums. And this one track really hit me. It really got my juices going. And as soon as I heard it, I heard this whole piece of music around it. So I downloaded it from Facebook and I started creating this track. And it just felt so good. It felt so much fun. And so I sent it over to him and he really dug it. So I made a couple videos for it. I made one video that was just us playing and another video that really captured the mood that I was trying to create with the music. The track's called Rest and Relaxation. And my hope is that that it would just make all the people out there who are kind of shut in or doing the stay-at-home thing during this stressful time, that it would just give them a little bit of joy, a little bit of happiness for the 3 minutes or so that this track actually plays.
hope you enjoyed these stories. Tell us about your favorite one in the comments below. Hit like and subscribe to our channel to learn about upcoming installments from First Person Arts' COVID stories. But more importantly, we want to hear from you. We'll post how you can share your story in the notes below. Whatever you're feeling or thinking during this time, we want you to know that you're not alone, and somehow we'll get through this together. Tell us your story and we'll share it across the country. Maybe somebody listening feels the same way you do. If you enjoyed this installment, and we hope you did, subscribe to COVID Stories and stay tuned for the next installment on Tuesday, May 5th. In the meantime, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more COVID Stories sneak peeks to spark your imagination. Dr. Neil Bardhan has shared story prompts to help get your story juices flowing. You can find them at our website, www.firstpersonarts.org. This installment was produced and edited with original music by Rodney Wittenberg and Melody Vision. The First Person Arts COVID Stories team includes Tanesha Ford, Dr. Neil Bardhan, Danielle Marino, Samantha Heth, and Leo Otting. Thank you so much to our storytellers and for all of you out there listening. I'm your host, Jamie J. Join us next time for another installment of COVID Stories, where First Person Arts keeps you company.